All right, Derek.
All right, well, I'm gonna zag when everybody else is zigging. So I'm gonna put out a theory here because I'm gonna justify the research I put into the edge position. So we've paid John Allen, right? We've paid Deron Payne. What is a good way to maintain your payroll while not completely crippling yourself along the D line when you pay both of your interior D linemen top 10 contracts? And I do wonder if they're not going to target an edge rusher early to avoid the need to pay Sweat and Payne or Sweat and Young. They've not picked up Young's fifth-year option yet. To this point, we have heard zero progress on a contract extension with Sweat. So I'm curious to see if maybe they go into this draft with the idea of drafting an edge rusher early, day one or day two, who you have control of through the extent of both Allen and Payne's contracts while you're paying them on a rookie deal, and then we move one of those two guys, or possibly both of those two guys, which would be crazy out of the box thinking. So trust me, I have no confidence that that's coming from this front office, but we can play this game, for lack of a better term, and have some fun. So I picked a couple guys. I'm not going to waste your time with the guys that are the tops in the draft, like Will Armstrong, because he's might be the number one prospect in this draft. It wouldn't be worth even talking about. But a name that continues to pop off the page at me, that is continuing to be slept on, is the defensive end out of Notre Dame, Isaiah Foskey. This guy, as I roll this and mute it, whoops. For some reason, I'm seeing him ranked from the 10th defensive end. I'm not talking about 10th overall player in the draft, 10th D end, all the way up to ranked into the third and fourth round. I don't think he goes that far because he is just a hell of a football player. I don't know that I want to take him at 16, but I would be curious if we could either draft someone at 16 and then trade back up into the second half late, the same, similar to that Montez Sweat template, or just flat out trade back and take a guy so that you have your edge rusher, your premier defensive player under contract for 5 seasons and control on a rookie deal. So 2023 Senior Bowl participant. Sorry, he's actually rewinding. That's not freezing. 2022 Consensus All-American, 2022 Walter Camp All-American First Team, 2022 AFCA All-American First Team, 2022 Action Network All-American Second Team, on and on and on. 2022 CBS Sports All-American. So the kid is for real. He's a multi-year starter at Notre Dame, played in 4 seasons. Over the last 2 seasons, he has had 11 sacks in each season. So he's doing it on a national level, on a legit program. He measures off the chart in a lot of things. Now his 40-yard dash isn't insane. It's a 4.58, but even a 4.58, we were talking about tight ends being elite, and this guy's a defensive end. Broad jump is 125 inches, so that's in the top 90 plus percentile. He's explosive. He's extreme off the edge, and not only that, you'll see a lot of the times in this package, he actually drops into coverage, which is something that Rivera and Del Rio seem to do with their defensive ends. So can he be a fit? Additionally, as a playmaker, and if I'm not mistaken, he actually blocked 2 punts in the same game.
Wow.
So he's a special teams kind of nightmare. He's fast. He's quick. He's got good bend around the edges. He's a little undersized at 6'5" and 264. But then again, that's not really undersized when you consider that there are edge rushers that are 20 to 30 pounds lower, smaller than him and 2 to 3 inches shorter. So he's got
Manley sized.
Well, I mean, that was 30 years ago there, Bob. He's got the strength to take on the blockers, especially at the premium positions. You'll see he does play both sides of the line of scrimmage. There are also times that he will line up in the middle. He'll line up with his hand in the dirt, and he will line up standing up, almost like an interior inside linebacker position. So I'm not comping him to this guy, but and saying he's gonna be on the same level, but kind of that Micah Parsons player that
Yeah.
you can move him around and you can set him in multiple fronts. Can he check off a lot of boxes that eases the long-term decisions of our defensive staff as well as our front office and do it at a much lower cost? Like I said, I don't know that I'm spending 16 on him. I don't even know that I would, like I said, would spend a first round pick, maybe just to get that 5th year. But I think if he's there in the second, or if he's falling into the second, it could be an interesting conversation to have. With the questions around Chase Young and his ability to actually be a game breaker, his ability to be what we hoped he would be, and the questions around Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat's going to demand a big deal. He's probably looking for a paying contract, and I don't know that you can pay 3 defensive linemen $20+ million and build a roster. It's tough to do, especially with Sam Howell as your quarterback. And I say that because he's not a rookie first round pick where you have 5 years of control. We've already lost 1 year of control. He's got 2 more. So the questions are going to have to start being asked, especially if this coaching staff plans on being here in the long term. Uh, I I would love to see this guy in our uniform because it would open up some options as a playmaker. He's nasty. He's not the biggest hitter in the world, but like you guys have mentioned, he's a football player. He's taking on a tackle and a guard, and he's taking down a running back at the line of scrimmage. He flows to the ball very well. He sheds blocking very well. He's not going to bull rush. Every single highlight I've seen him in, he is not getting up and under a tight end and lifting them, or a tackle and lifting them off the ground. But he has such instinctive burst off the ball. He's usually around them before they have a chance. So can he develop some additional pass rushing moves? Add 5 to 7 more pounds and some NFL muscle. You can change some things like that. My next guy that I'm looking at, a little less known only because he shares the name of somebody that went to Alabama, uh, and that's Byron Young out of Tennessee. A little bit smaller guy. Right now I'm seeing him mocked anywhere from the 3rd round to the 5th round. I think he's worth a 3rd round look, at least a 3rd round look, especially being a compensatory pick. Uh, this guy is long and he's a physical freak. Now he's 6'2", 250, but he ran a 4.43 40. Now, 40 times don't really mean anything when it comes to a defensive end. So I looked a little bit more into the analytics. He ran a 1.62 10-yard, which is in the 71st percentile. His vertical was 38 inches, which is 93rd percentile, which is explosion and burst off the line. And his broad jump was 132, which is 100th percentile. So he runs the fast. He ran in the 100th percentile in speed and explosion. So the biggest knocks on him, if I'm remembering correctly, and now like Mark, I've kind of got to pull up my notes here. He doesn't have the length. So when you look at him, he doesn't have the Montez Sweat arms where he looks like he can scratch his knee without bending over. He doesn't have that extreme push off, but he absolutely can compensate with it with his speed and his acceleration around the edge. Knox is that he often plays a little bit too high in the blocker. In more seasoned blockers are capable of getting under his pads and getting leverage. But if you'll watch, he's never truly out of a play. He will lose leverage and he will recover. His left tackle will get him, stand him up, and push him backwards, and then he'll end up running the running back down from behind. He's just got that physical freak ability. At 6'2", 250, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's definitely got some room to growth, and I see him maybe falling into the 4th. So if you've added some of those more premier positions on day 1 and day 2, if you can find this guy in the 4th round, I think he can be absolutely a rotational piece, and he can come into becoming a starter down the road. once he can get some additional moves, he stunts well. He's able to play the backside very well. He hits gaps hard. When he hits a gap, he is going 100 miles an hour to the point where on that highlight right there, the guard couldn't even get around him, even though he saw him coming. As you can see, he's very good in pursuit. He's disciplined. He contains the edge. And well, I I don't know. He jumped off the page at me about how he was just kind of always in the right place at the right time. And he never truly got beat. He didn't get pancaked. Obviously, I'm watching highlights, so you're not going to see that. But he seems like he's always in the play. The last guy I'm going to talk about is kind of a later round pick. Another physical freak. You'll see that it's kind of a common trend. Who not a lot of people are talking about, but he really brings the versatility that Rivera and the team seem to covet, is Yaya Diaby. Plus he has the coolest name in the world. Yaya Diaby runs a 4.5 140, multi-year starter at Louisville. Played in 1,126 snaps, which is the least of the guys that I'm talking about. So he is not as seasoned, but he has played multiple. Like I said, he's played multiple positions along the front. Measurables wise, he measured off the charts, not only in 40, but in vertical 10-yard broad jump and wingspan. He was in top 70th percentile in all of those things. So he's kind of one of those physical guys that you wonder if he's going to be able to truly refine the technique of his game. He's been mocked a lot later. I've seen him mocked as high as the third again, but I've seen him also mocked as late as the sixth, ranked as the 180, 190th player in the draft, and not even in the top 20 of his position. So he could be an intriguing prospect that we could find day 3 if he were to trickle down into the 5th or 6th round. Taking a flyer on a guy like this who shows the bend, he shows the ability to beat the tackles, and he shows the ability to play multiple fronts along the defensive line to see if he can actually, turn something on and turn into a viable long-term contributor. I don't know if I would say a long-term starter. Obviously, if you take Diaby, you're not going to let Sweat and Young walk. The other two would put more of an emphasis on that. His biggest knock is that his physicality sometimes takes over and he runs himself out of the play. He's too aggressive to the point where he gets out of control and he works himself away from the action. But then they also give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he's always involved in a play. So he might run himself out of it, but he's got the physical ability to recover and get back in it. I think at his true size, he measures 6'3", 263. I could see him being a kind of a James Smith-Williams type. At 6'3", he could get up to 275. He could play multiple positions along the line and be a key contributor later. But that would be a flyer guy. I don't think you're looking at him to start day one. I don't even think you're looking at him to truly contribute day one. He would be more of a guy that you would get to develop and to find a way into the starting rotation after, Chase Young and Montez Sweat were to move on.
Well, the point about cap management going forward is well taken. And personally, if you're getting value at the pick, I will never have a problem with taking a pursuit DE sized / linebacker sized guy who can disrupt on defense. I don't think you can have enough of those guys. You've got one, it changes everything. A guy who can pursue and disrupt from the edge like that.
Well, that's why Foskey did intrigue me. And I mean, we would be talking if we were to take Foskey in the first round, and obviously I would be interested. I don't know that I could even endorse it. If we were to take him in the first round, we're talking about 6 defensive players in the last 7 drafts in the first round.
Yeah, I didn't see him as a first, and it didn't sound like you did either. If as a second round player like that, I wouldn't hesitate a beat on taking a guy you thought could disrupt off the edge like that and help you cap wise.
Watching Foskey's tape there, Derek, the name that kept running through my head was Thibodeau. and
Uh-huh.
watching New York play last year and watching Thibodeau have his coming out party, especially against Washington, just made me want that kind of a guy. And we don't have that kind of a guy. I mean, I
Right.
think we thought we were getting him with Montez Sweat. So far, it hasn't happened. I think we thought we were getting him with Chase Young. Jury is obviously still out.
It's way out. Not just out.
But
I think
you
that
know, I
might
mean,
be a bust. I really do.
I don't know that he'll be a bust, John, but I don't know that he'll ever be worth the second pick. I think I don't, you know, I mean, the more I watch Chase Young, and granted, it's a small sample size when he's truly healthy. This September will tell. But every time I watch Chase Young these days, you know, what I'm thinking is I probably wouldn't be unhappy if we drafted him 24th. But we drafted him second. I don't know.